I've done past life regressions for years and years and years with people, and I've helped them overcome lots of traumatic events that are going on in their current life. But let's really be realistic about what a past life regression could be, what reincarnation could be. And then we're going to talk about the science of how the mind has to be in what frequencies to really experience a regression.
We'll demonstrate that.
Yeah, past life regression is basically regression therapy. The difference between past life and early age regression is in early age regression, you're taking back to somebody to an impacted event in their childhood and helping them remove the negative emotional activity that occurred in that event. Like if someone was physically abused or mentally abused or things like that. Now, a past life regression, folks, can be a number of things. And this is important that we need to understand this scientifically. Not everybody might be at the same spiritual level. So let's look at this as a science of what could reincarnation or past life regression be. Number one, it could be real. It could be somebody really has lived in a past. They've come back here to Earth to make some positive changes in their life and maybe some contributions in the world. But something occurred traumatically in a past life that has affected their current life. Someone might have a fear of water. Or I worked with a woman on a TV show, Beyond, with James Van Praagh. Her whole life she had a fear of being stabbed in the back of the head by a man and killed. It lowered her whole quality of life. She wouldn't date anybody. She was intelligent. She was articulate. This was on this NBC TV show, Beyond, with the psychic James Van Praagh. I spoke to her. She didn't think past life regression or reincarnation was real. It was kind of against her religious beliefs. She didn't even think she could be hypnotized. Didn't even think hypnosis was real. But I was able to get her into a very low brainwave frequency state, enabling me to do a past life regression. The difference from a conscious state to a receptive state of subconscious receptibility, which we'll talk about scientifically. The experience she had, the images that she saw, were very traumatic to her. She let these emotions out, so she released what we might call repressed emotion, and she was free of this fear of being killed because it related to something that occurred in her past life. Whether it was it real, was it imagined, was it a metaphor? It's not up to me to determine. Did it help her and give her a freedom in her life? Absolutely.
Well, it sounds like it.
Yeah, so a past life regression could be a number of things. Let's look at this as kind of like a scientific exploration into a spiritual belief we call reincarnation. Okay? Past life regression, it could be real. Someone could have actually lived before.
But it's actually, whether it's real or not, it's real to the individual.
Exactly. But let's continue here, Bradley. Let's talk about this, for example. Number one, it could be a real past life, somebody who's lived before. Number two, it could be pure imagination. We're not going to say that everybody's lived before. It could be pure stimulated imagination induced through the hypnotist, hypnotherapist, or the regression therapist. It could be a metaphor. It could be symbolic, a story that gets created from the subconscious relating to something that somebody cannot see or remember or does not want to remember. So it could be a metaphor, a story, basically. Okay?
Right.
Those are three things. Number four, this is something that, again, with scientific neurological research, maybe we'll be able to prove one day. It could be that when you're in this low brainwave frequency state and the conscious is not active, but that subconscious, which is the spiritual part of our inner part of our mind, might be like a receiver, like on a radio, opened up to a certain frequency. Maybe you're tuning in somebody from the astral world, the spiritual world, or a life that might not be you, but it's getting received through you. We call that channeling. But the person might be what I might call an innocent channeler. Right. So it could be real, it could be pure imagination, it could be a metaphor, a story that comes out from the subconscious. The subconscious is a very instant, automatic, imaginative, or literal computer. So it could just come up as a story, but it could help that person understand the problem they're having in their current life. So it could be a number of things. I've done thousands of past life regressions, and I'll tell you, I've experienced basically all of those. I do believe some people have lived before. That was the reason also for writing this book. In the book, the first chapter, I talk about a doctor, Frank Rubio. This was a student that went to my hypnotherapy training course, and he didn't really believe in past lives, never thought about it before. I did a group induction on the students, and I took them to past lives just to experience it. Whether it was real or imagination, it's a wonderful tool to help remove an emotional trauma or negative emotional activity or a habit or pattern in their current life. So that's what I use it for, that tool. He went back and he was in New York in an ER center, emergency room as a surgeon, and he was Dr. Frank Rubio, and he was working on a patient. And so I was asking him questions, and he was talking in medical terms and things which was very different from the way this guy
was there any verification at that hospital and that all of that existed?
This is the interesting facts. After I woke the young man up, and he talked about this experience, and it explained the reason why in his current life he wears scrubs to sleep at night, why he was afraid as a child to go into hospitals and he'd run away if he got injured, why as an adult he worked as a security officer in hospitals and medical doctors. So the fact is, there was something to that past life memory. And from him learning about this and understanding it, and realizing now that he's in the field of hypnotherapy to help people, that part of his mission was to come back and help people. What was your question?
The question was there verification that there was that hospital?
Interesting you mentioned that. Thank you for reminding me on that. Absolutely. That was called King Drew Medical Hospital.
Kings County.
Kings County Medical Hospital. I think it was either in Brooklyn or somewhere in New York.
Staten Island, maybe?
It was Kings County Medical Hospital. We'll have to edit this. Yes. He said it was Kings County Medical Hospital in Staten Island in New York. So this young man decided to do some research. You know, he was a security agent, investigator for years. So he did some research, and that hospital exists. We did some research on the internet and found that hospital, found the ER room. He even found the doctor, the surgeon back in the 1940s, Dr. Frank Rubio.
Wow.
He explored it and found that this person existed. Was he Frank Rubio? I would say very possibly. But the fact is, it explains some of the reasons why as a child he was afraid to go into hospitals. Why, you know, he was working on people. He tried to do the best he could.
So to put it into a paragraph or two, just a short paragraph or two, what is the best scientific evidence that there is reincarnation?
The best scientific evidence that there is reincarnation is the fact that there has been research done many times with people who have had a regression, and they found those people who existed. And these were not famous people in history books.
Right.
These were everyday people like me and you. I hypnotized a young man, and in a past life, his plane went down in World War II. He gave me the serial numbers of his plane, his serial numbers. He gave me the city and street and the address where he lived. He researched it and found that person that lived in Marysville. It's amazing. I once worked with a Chinese professor in Taiwan when I was showing past life regression, who was a samurai warrior in a past life, speaking fluent Japanese. He reviewed the footage in the tapes. He found that samurai. He said he never spoke a single word of Japanese, yet he spoke it fluently. So the fact is, the past life regression scientifically only occurs in a delta state, in a low brainwave frequency state. The subconscious part of our mind is like a biocomputer. It's like the software on the hard drive of a computer. But that subconscious part is the true spiritual part too. That's
okay,
where
I think we've got a little demonstration here. His name's Tom Silver. We're coming right back. You can visit him anytime you want at www.tomsilver.com.